So while we're waiting, if people could take a look at the minutes to see if there are any substantive changes that need to be made, so that we're able to get going when we get enough people here.
I know that, Sam is interested in bringing up the hire of the police policy director.
Okay. Today? Okay.
He's not here though, right now, so I'm not sure how we
Well,
navigate that.
that's not on the agenda, so.
We don't have Hawaiian food, so you may not come.
Yeah. Have we ever had Hawaiian food?
CPRC,
Oh,
it's all Hawaiian.
I love Hawaiian food. I should get that.
Because we meet over there, on East Burnside, so we go to, Ohana.
Oh, nice.
My neighborhood.
Nice. Have you been to the, jeez.
No, I was in Ohana.
What's, there's a cart and it's the, what's the area code over there? 808 Grinds.
Oh, I've heard
The
about
cart
it.
on the corner
Yeah.
of Washington and Tom's, I think. Ooh, nice. Really good. Best fried chicken I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I like fried chicken.
Yeah. Huh.
Did anybody see anything on the minutes from last month that does need to be changed? So that we can just get it done? No?
So were you saying minutes or?
Minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So minutes are good?
I haven't heard anything about minutes from anybody, so I think the minutes are
I am
good.
still reading.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I need to make a comment to Jeff with what Amy is reading.
Pardon me?
I need to make a comment.
Okay, sure.
It's specific to you. I read minutes before,
Yes, sir.
and always I have really to keep scanning, especially English is my first language.
Mm.
Thanks. You do such a beautiful job
Oh, wow, thanks.
that makes my eyes really at ease of
Yeah.
just scan and see.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I second that.
Thank you. Mike, you got that?
Oh, yeah, I like it too. Yeah, I got it. I
Raise your
agree.
hand if you think you should get a raise.
They pay me in chicken, can't you see? It's the perk.
All right. So, we don't have a quorum, so we're not gonna have any votes until after somebody else gets here. But why don't we just move right past minutes and agenda? We do know that Dante James is not here tonight, so that is gonna be changed on the agenda. And so, I propose that we, well,
Why don't we wait 5 more minutes?
why don't we wait 5 more minutes, since the people who were at the special meeting, who we would be discussing that meeting about.
Well, let's talk about the awards then.
Okay, let's do it.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 human rights commissioners who have RCP'd or who have confirmed that they'll be there. So that's Abdul, Kyle, Linda, Damon, Sonji, Myra, Alan, Diallo, Sam, and Emmanuel.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're missing Ashley, Malloy, Danita.
And Danita.
Hey, Danita.
Hey, everybody, it's Danita. Which means Ashley emailed, said she was on her way, so we will have a quorum.
Good.
Heavy out there.
You know what? I could have sworn, Danita, did you send me a confirmation that you're going to the Human Rights Awards?
Yes, but I hadn't registered yet.
Well, no, oh, that's right. I sent back, you said, so you're commissioner, you don't have to pay, you just have to let me know
Oh,
if you're
okay.
going.
Yes.
So you're going?
Yes.
And would you like chicken or tofu?
Chicken.
Please.
Okay. I gotta ask.
My favorite email that I got all week last week was from the Attorney General's assistant, who just said, "Thank you for the invitation, the Attorney General will have the chicken." Really? Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Oh.
Everybody else went down,
yes.
yes.
Oh, sorry. He was confused, looking at me going, "Yeah, beautiful." And I was like, "I think Jeff."
That's great.
Oh, I think Emily's family will be very pleased with this. It's really nice.
That's very
I
nice.
did do an audit this last week. So
You did?
it's Good.
I got them yesterday. The picture.
Oh, I saw a photo.
Oh, yeah, the logo looks nice. That's great, Jeff, thank you.
How are we doing on reservations?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a concern. I think, hey, Soji's here. I'm going to announce every commissioner just like that. Hey. Just gotta feel it. Hey, Soji's here. We only have 19 paid attendees.
Okay.
And it looks like 11 of those are MRG Foundation supporters.
So we need to do a better job getting the word out to our
They're
network.
pushing it, I sent another news release out today, so we'll see what that does.
And did we ever find a list of the attendees from last year? I don't think we did. We were talking about that, but, okay.
I know I was one of them.
Right, so we have one. Thank you. Oh, that's really nice.
Isn't it nice?
The nominees know that they are getting the award, right?
Oh, yeah, they're all set.
Can they also send it to their networks?
Yeah, that's what I told, that's what MRG has done. They've got their own fan club kind of.
And we have the guests for Aaron Writings. We don't have the guests for Jeff Gottfried yet. I've sent him a couple of emails. He'll get back to me.
Yeah, I mean, November 17th is when I need to let Northwest Natural know how much chicken, how much tofu we need.
Oh, okay, great.
And that's what we've said on the invitations that, by the way, the acrylic really came out nice, didn't it?
It is, it's really nice.
And it's a sharper image on the acrylic than it would be on glass.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Very nice.
So,
So
yeah, we
we-
need to do some more outreach. Hey, it's Ashley.
Hello, I emailed you.
I know you did,
Okay.
and you're writing,
Oh,
if you want
cool.
to. We have-
Sorry, I
we have-
didn't see myself.
Plenty of space to move around. We're just passing around to you, one of the trophies. And Ashley, will you be going to the Human Rights Awards? Okay.
Okay, so we just need to do a little bit more outreach.
Yeah, and the mailing went out, and I'm gonna send another reminder out probably Friday, to all the organizations that went through the roundtable, to everybody on our outreach list for both HRC and the office. Levon, did you get an invitation?
No,
Gee, okay,
I mean, maybe I did and I didn't pick it up, but I don't think so.
okay. I will make sure you get one, and then Peacock gets one.
Can we send an invitation to city council members?
There will be 3 of us.
It went to all council members.
There's gonna be 3 of
It went to
So this is
all
the lifetime
commissioners,
achievement.
their chiefs of
And then there will
staff.
be emerging leader
Commissioner Fritz will be
and
coming?
outstanding organization.
They will go to
Actually, that's where I met her last.
people who are awarded to.
Right.
Right.
Cool. Did you want to see this?
I didn't know that as a guest I would have to organize next year's banquet. Kind of an
We'll
odd
we'll
thing.
select somebody from this year's banquet to organize next year's.
Of course,
also.
that's what we
Yes,
had.
it's part of the raffle.
So, I've got a couple of emails out to the mayor's office to find out if, thank you, if that can happen. So,
Great.
that's where we are. Linda and I met today, since she is the vice chair, who's gonna be kind of heading up the awards luncheon organization next year with me, so we're going over some details. Is there anything I'm leaving out?
No. Have we, I wonder if we contacted the religious community that Emily belonged to?
I did, I sent emails out to the board of OAJC. I know that we have someone coming from the Interreligious Action Network of Washington County.
And she was on the Washington County Human
Right.
Rights Commission.
So I'm probably gonna call OAJC and see if, there's more things that.
I'll do the same thing. There's a woman there that I spoke to a lot last year.
So you wanna go ahead and do that?
I'll do it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it.
And if folks just want to spread and forward the email, that might help also.
The ticket purchasing process seems to be fairly easy.
I don't remember ever having any problems with it last year, so I think it's just a matter of people, maybe, it could be just that people think it's still a long ways out and just haven't bought their tickets yet, but maybe
Well, and I
it's.
put November 17th on everything, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
all right, we'll just do a little push.
Is there other organizing stuff that needs to happen, like the programs and all that, or are you working on all that?
I will do all that. I'll have Bruce, you want to get Bruce to the executive committee? How do you want to work that?
Or just the organizing committee?
Yeah, I think it's you, me, Diallo, and Alan.
Okay.
And Linda is involved now, and she's back from Europe,
Okay, great.
so that's.
So, yeah, programs, and then Northwest Central is also donating centerpieces.
So their place, the
Thank you, I was
venue,
lost.
the food, and the centerpieces, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And any kind of natural gas needs that we would have.
Right.
That day.
And then,
Bring up one, we'll take some home.
so we don't have to worry about any other logistics.
Well, you can worry, but, yeah.
I'll be worried until it's over, yeah. Okay, great. All right, now that we have a quorum here, let's go ahead and take a look at the minutes and just approve them for the record.
Hey, Mike, did you get that email? I just put it on my calendar right now.
So I'd like to recommend we put a marker at, before committee reports.
We'll do it
I'll say
right
that.
after minutes.
Always thinking. I move that we accept the minutes as provided.
Does anyone have any substantive changes? No? Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? All right, so all in favor of accepting the minutes as provided, show of hands and aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are accepted as written, and we'll let Jeff know this is unanimous when it comes back.
Oh, I was
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
abstaining because I wasn't present, so I don't want
Okay.
to.
All the- Okay, so for the agenda, we have already mixed things up a little bit, so we are so flexible. We've moved number 8, HRC Emily G. Godfrey Human Rights Awards, up to number 2, after welcoming and gathering. And we're going to bump approval of agenda and minutes down below that. And Dante James is not here today, so we're going to eliminate that. Amy, did you have a recommendation for?
Yeah, a check-in about an possible HRC response to Mayor Hale's hire of a new policy director for PPP, that is.
Okay, why don't we put that, you want to add that to upcoming events? It's an event, he's hiring somebody.
Yes.
Might fit in there. And we'll just add 5 minutes there, and we'll take that out of the OEHR update.
So it'd be Public Safety Policy Advisor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, were there any changes in the minutes?
No changes to the minutes. We voted, everybody voted except for Danita in favor. Danita abstained.
I didn't know you guys were gonna vote so quick. Who moved to?
Alan moved.
Okay,
And Dale has seconded.
thank you.
I took notes while you were away.
Now that I know you'll do that.
Yeah, right, see ya. Okay, any other changes to the agenda?
I know I'm the peanut gallery over here, but during the OEHR update, I was wondering, just because I have exact next, can I just quickly update you on the celebration we were working on?
Yeah, we'll do the OEHR update right after we vote on the agenda, and
That
then,
works great.
You can do it then? Yeah. Perfect, okay. Motion to approve the minutes, I'm sorry, the agenda as amended, and all in favor, it was Amy moved, Abdul seconded.
Oh, okay.
All in favor, show of hands, or aye? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Okay, OEHR update. Levon, would you like to come and give us an update on the
I'll just do it
OEHR
right from here.
party?
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, since she's on here right now. I just wanted to update everyone that because of the short time frame, we've decided not to do it in November. We are gonna do it in January, and we are looking at January 10th. We know that this may be a problem if a certain baby is born around that time, but I have talked to
I hope not.
the wife.
Early.
But in case it does happen, we're just hoping that so it will be on January 10th, which is a Friday night, and we are looking at, I think it's the Mekong Bistro, for the space to do it. And that's the big update, and other than that, we'll be sending out information as we set. We've got a timetable that we're working on, and it will be coming out soon.
Great, and do you have a HRC contact, are you, Sonia?
I'm
you
still
work-
your contact.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been
I know
sending
we
her
had
emails.
the whole meeting, the first meeting you had to reschedule and change, so
Yeah.
that conflicted with my schedule, but
I kind of figured that.
yeah, we'll
but-
get back on course.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions about the OEHR social?
Could you repeat the time, please? It will be, I did not give you the time, so thank you.
Oh.
It will be from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, maybe because we're not gonna be downtown, we may move to 7:30. So it gives enough time for people to get from downtown.
And it's at the Mekong Beach Strip.
Yes, which is out on 82nd. We're just confirming that it's easy access for TriMet, and that's the only thing that we have to confirm. And if so, then that's where we're gonna be.
There's a main bus line on 82nd.
It's just a matter of crossing 82nd, if it's at a spot where it's like 3 or 4 blocks
From the,
to
Bus
a
line?
crosswalk. Yeah, it's really dangerous to try and cross 82nd, especially if you're visually impaired.
yeah, it's right on the corner.
82nd and what?
Siskiyou.
From your Madison.
So if you know, then you know, everybody else, I haven't been there, so I don't know exactly. And so they were just checking that out, and as soon as they checked it out, we were gonna confirm that that was where we were gonna be.
And it's gonna include all the OEHR programs? assuming-
New Portlanders.
Newportlanders, okay, good.
The Portland Commission on Disability and the Human Rights Commission,
Bureau Advisory Committee.
yeah, and Bureau Advisory Committee, and then we will be inviting other members of the community, which we will be talking to Sonji and getting who you want to, she'll coordinate with you to figure out who you want to invite from HRC. We've started doing the same thing at PCOT, deciding who we would like to extend invitations to.
So you said we can invite people from the community?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And what was the, how do you spell Mekong? M-A-C-O-N?
MEKONG. We'll let you know, these details aren't completely firm yet,
Yeah.
so we'll let you know for sure. And then-
There will be e-bites that go out,
Yeah.
and there'll be save the dates that go out, so you will be getting full information, probably within a month before the event, you'll have full information.
Great, well, thank you so much.
Thanks
We're
for
looking
hitting that
forward
up.
to it.
That's a lot of cats to herd.
Yeah.
Yes, luckily, I have done a lot of work with herding cats in my past.
All right. Jeff, is there anything else we should be aware of from the OEHR? Okay.
Bird Advisory Committee is coming up, November, Alan, when is it again?
19th, I believe.
All right.
I'm planning on attending that, unless Diallo is, are you interested in?
No, on the 19th?
Uh,
The day there?
we finish working in the January 10th, I think. I will not.
I'll send that in the policy.
Okay, I don't know if I can make it yet.
That's fine.
If it's on the 19th of this month.
It is- Yeah, 19th.
I think we could,
Tuesday evening.
Tuesday evening after 5.
It starts at 5.
Okay.
So who's coordinating?
All right. So we had a meeting, when was it? A couple weeks ago? When was that? That was October 22nd, after a request by a number of people to talk about the commission's leadership structure and organizational structure. And came up with a couple of ideas or one big idea for how to address the issue. Amy, do you want to talk about what we talked about? I can do it if you
No,
want
that's
to.
okay.
I'm just tired of talking.
You want me to jump right into like what the plan is?
Jump right into, maybe just, well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We basically honed in on what's the problem with, that's preventing there to be readiness to assume a leadership position, right? And from there, we determined a few things, maybe you guys can help me recall, but one of them was the lack of clarity about what the roles are and the heaviness of the role of those leadership positions. So from that point, we jumped to looking at what a training might look like. And we listed the different topics of what a training might look like that would, one, clarify what everybody's roles and responsibilities are, not just executive committee, but everyone. And then we looked at, okay, what isn't complete? What of those gaps, baskets of information do we have gaps in? And some of that organizational stuff that we've been working on over the past several months. So the plan right now is to work on two pieces where we're seeing considerable gaps. And one is, what are our roles and responsibilities? And the second is, what's our process for action? And those are two pieces of that overall training that we're imagining. And so we're gonna work on that. And then we would also like to have a retreat in January that includes everyone and is a chance to relay and clarify what those changes have been made as well as what is already existing that may not be clear to everyone. Right, so it involves a twofold thing, some changes in the structure through a process that I would like it to be as collaborative as possible in my thinking. And then relaying that, us all getting on the same page with that. And in the end, hopefully we have something that makes it more accessible for people to become leaders, and which will include, we know what our roles and responsibilities are and how action can move more fluidly through and cleanly. Yeah, anything else?
No, I think that's a great summary of what we discussed.
Who's on the committee?
I am.
So I'm anchoring the committee to take care of those two pieces, right? With roles and responsibilities and action process. We don't have a committee for the overall retreat planning yet.
Oh, I thought we did. Isn't that the group that we picked? No.
And I wasn't.
Oh, I thought it was.
I thought it was too.
It could be.
I thought it was the same group, actually.
That's what I thought.
But,
So that's one thing we should clarify. So I'm available to do that first step, to chair, or whatever we want to call it, that first step. And then I would have to have some help or pass it on for the whole retreat planning, right?
so.
That's why we have the committee, right?
Right. So who volunteered to help Amy out? I did.
Abdul was there?
No? Okay. So Diallo, Linda, myself, Emmanuel. Okay, Alan? No? Okay.
Yeah,
Are you good with that? Okay.
Yeah, I'll review the material as a
Yeah.
part of it.
Amy,
Hold on one second.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So I wasn't able to be at that meeting even though I really wanted to, but
Okay.
just really quick, will the sort of like the process, how we make decisions to act, will that flow from our earlier discussions and planning materials, or is it
Yeah,
entirely separate?
it's changed a lot since you and I
Have worked
since
on
you've
it.
been to,
Yeah.
able to come to meetings, but, where we left off, I think is an iteration of that work you and I did.
Okay. So I know we met for a number of months and there were a number of iterations and then it got passed off. So I would like to be helpful with that.
Yeah, with that action process stuff.
Mhm.
Okay,
So the committee is Amy, Kyle, Diallo, Linda, Emmanuel, and Ashley.
That sounds good. Is that, how many people is that? Is that 5, 6?
6.
Okay.
No quorum.
Good. We can email. So, yeah, I think that's really a good summary. Was anybody at the meeting who wants to add to that? Or is everybody satisfied with that explanation?
I can add to it if people are curious what the other training ideas were and then the second set of training ideas were, just so people are curious. Yeah, sure. So the list was, the top ones were the roles and responsibilities and process for action for this first one, but there was also media training, PR, public speaking, public meeting law stuff, bylaw, and strategic plan review, intent and history of HRC. Small professional development for the commission as a whole and for members, recruitment and nominations, leadership inquiry. So that was all stuff that could possibly go into the first training thing. And then the second was to go over UDHRs, the Universal Declaration, tools and impact assessments, supportive experts, and best practices.
So I see what you're saying, Amy, that, so you need some other folks on that committee to help gather some of those other topics on the agenda for the retreat. That's what you're talking about. the
I'm
planning.
saying as a leadership role, I can only lead through that.
The first couple, okay, because I'd forgotten that there were some gathering of other pieces around communications
Right.
and public meetings laws. Okay, yeah, so there is some other lifting to do there. So Val can help with that.
You like that. Were there any, I'm not advocating for it, but since I wasn't there, was there any conversation about changing the chair, like the structure and the way we function overall, or is that?
I think that was part of the clarifying the roles and responsibilities.
Okay, that's part of that, okay.
Why it's so scary for some.
Also, we talked there, discussed the role also of the chairs of the committees, and how much you can have the ability to act or communicate instead of being limited. The other part we mentioned is, we discussed, was on the table, is the frustration sometimes among us who are new, that you have nobody to give you an orientation about the commission or the past or history or bylaws or ethic laws as a public entity as well. It would be nice to have somebody that comes in, all people bring them who are new, 1, 2, or 3 together and walk them through the process and everything. So that's another one to discuss.
At the retreat, does that make sense for those who are new or haven't maybe joined many of the committees, for each of the committee chairs to sort of do something? Like, this is what we intend to do, this is what we need help on, here are some areas of interest.
I think for myself, that'll be good, what you just mentioned, what you guys said, just to have the orientation, but to have like a brief overview of, what each committee is and where they, that way I can have a clear description of where I know I can be best used or where I can be serviced. So it would help me a lot, because sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit in the dark, probably because I'm just not so busy, but sometimes I just can't keep up with all the emails, but it would help me a lot. That way I can really dedicate my time and my focus to where I feel I would best be used.
And if I can make a recommendation to the nominating committee, that it would be great to have the vacancy filled for HRC by then, so the new commissioner could participate.
And I know that we have interest in that position already. And so I'm not sure, I know Malloy is chairing the nominating committee, but it will probably be a good idea. I'm gonna write myself a note to just talk to Malloy and trying to make sure that that process gets carried along. And I think one of the things that we discussed was having it in January so that we would have a little bit of time to have that, make that happen. So I think that's really important.
And I think we'd have to trigger that process pretty quickly, because we only have potentially 2 meetings between now and then. And so, we'd have to bring forward a nominee, have that person confirmed here, and then we need to get them at least that far along, have them, I think, attend the retreat. So that's not many meetings before we.
Yeah, we would need to have,
I don't think we need to get them confirmed by council, but at least here we do.
right, we would need to have voted.
That's okay.
We
Yeah,
would
that's-
need to have voted on them by the December meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Anything content-wise additionally?
Yes, my sense is that we're gonna use that retreat time to talk through, especially the piece that Abdul said around how much authority do we give, especially the committee chairs, because it's somewhat of a change from the way we've operated in the past. So I don't think the full retreat is just information being served up, but I think it's also a time for us to separately talk about how we want to operate as a commission. Is that everybody's
That's what we
impression?
talked about,
Okay.
at
I'll
the
look at the full
meeting.
agenda.
Yeah, and it makes me nervous, to be honest, going in with things not being a full baked potato.
Because it would be such a rich time to have us all there together, that it'd be great if we have done that deciding work collaboratively beforehand, so it doesn't take over. So I'm not sure what to say about that, but I guess I'll say that would be my preference, that we have made at least 90% of the decisions for process, roles, and responsibility before we walk in.
And I think you've got a good-sized committee to be able to do that. It's 3 representatives, so I think you could bring something 3/4 baked.
So, we also discussed a few potential dates for the retreat itself. And I know it's a little early, but it might be a good idea to just get a feel for when people would be available for that.
And ask folks to mark them on their calendars as tentative, if they can.
What was the conflict besides Gallo's birthday? In January.
Oh, having a baby.
That's what it was.
At the end of the month, but so, I think that, my recollection is that we discussed January 11th. It was a Saturday, we talked about doing it on one Saturday, is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, if the social only goes till 7:30, then that'd be a problem.
We'll all show up after a long night at the Mekong Bistro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which just happened.
Long night at the Mekong Bistro.
Sounds like a fun weekend.
Wait, the Mekong Bistro would be after this, because that starts at 5, so we probably would have it earlier in the day.
January 10th is a Friday, though.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the night before Yellow, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then I think the 18th is also a consideration. Is that your birthday? Okay.
It's also my birthday,
Yeah.
it's your birthday.
Oh.
That's
Well,
okay.
yeah.
What a better way to get everyone together.
Yeah, I don't want them to be usually on my birthday.
What was the third day?
I think I think it was any of those 3, starting January 11th, going through to the end of January. Just, for me, I just know that the closer I get to my daughter's birth.
Yeah, let's do that.
But, I mean, I'm not gonna be chair anymore, so y'all can get along without
So
me.
11th, 18th, and 25th, we're talking about, right? can folks send Kyle
Yes, ma'am?
any conflicts with those dates?
Yeah, I can do that.
Wait, so we're asking,
Does anybody here has conflicts with those days? No? Can we get a birthday cake if it is the 18th?
And can we still get cake if it's?
we'll take a collection for the birthday cake.
Who gets it? States. So then, if everybody here, then we'll just give like these dates to who's not here and see if feedback would be quicker than try to meet us all again.
And what would be the, is there a tentative length on how long the retreat would run? Like each noon?
Yeah, isn't that what
He
we're doing?
rarely uses that term life, so let's take that seriously. All days.
Isn't that what we're doing?
I think
Think so?
So like a 9 to 3?
Yeah.
9 to 4.
So
We
can,
finished early, we're done.
I'm trying to, if there's an easier way to kind of maybe narrow it down to, I mean, how many dates do we have now? 3. Oh, okay, we have 3, okay,
so the Abdul's suggestion was that somebody get those dates to the people who are not present right now to see what works for them.
And I think if there's no conflicts, I think 11 is the first choice right now. And so
So-
I think it goes right in that order, 11, 18, and then 25.
Do we know if there's any MLK Day celebration stuff going on?
Well, on the 20th.
That'll be, I bet, we would run into that on the 18th, I bet. So, I actually, well,
I think the 25th is the date then.
I think this is February 1st, the 19th of.
what about the 11th? Not the
No, I mean,
11th?
the 25th would be the date that would work the most.
Not the
Not the
11th?
11th.
I think the 11th
is
would.
good.
I think the 11th is good here.
For those of us organizing an event the day before and then having to organize, yeah. Or maybe I'm just assuming that I'm gonna be involved in the setup.
Yeah, I think you're assuming right. Well, let's find out whether people have a conflict with the 11th or the 25th. And if there are, we'll just, I mean, obviously, we can't know what everybody's schedule is until we ask them. So let's just find out what the conflicts are for those 2 dates, and then,
Would you say the 11th then?
well,
I mean, if the majority of the folks, I mean,
When is it in February?
January 30th. But don't worry about me. I mean,
trying to get out of it.
I'm fine on the 11th, but, I obviously, we want to be sensitive to everybody's schedule, including
Well,
yours.
is everyone here available on the 11th?
Yes.
Let's go for 11th as a,
I'm just trying to make it easy, you
Yeah.
know?
11th as a goal, let's.
Okay, well, why don't we tentatively schedule for the 11th then? Thanks, Jeff, for being flexible. And then maybe 25th to back up if, like, everybody that isn't here today can't come on the 11th. But we've got a pretty good contingent here, so.
And who can do that? Who can communicate with everybody else?
I can't.
Oh, really? Thank you.
So it's just Malloy and Damon. And Myra. So
And Myra probably won't be there anyway.
So it's just Malloy and Damon.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great, and then you'll be in touch with the committee about the preliminary steps?
Right, and what I understood from that meeting was that we didn't want to meet in person, we wanted to do that online. Is that true?
I think that for the first,
The
yeah,
first 2 pieces, yeah.
let's try.
Okay.
So if you can just get us like an agenda of what we need to do, and then try to maybe make a little work plan, that'd be great. Okay, thank you.
So did we finalize about the committee that will be organizing the retreat? Is it the same committee? We finalize, is it the same committee?
I think that makes sense, and then Amy just doesn't have to like lead it necessarily. We can figure out a way to get it done, and if we need to bring in other pieces, we can.
And if you do want to meet in person, you just, with anybody, I'll be able to meet.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say me too? Okay, great.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Amy, is there anything else on the special meeting for the retreat that we need to discuss, or are we good?
I think that's it.
Okay. So moving along, we've got some events upcoming. The first bullet on there we've already talked about, which is the OEHR social with Peacock and others. So we're gonna have a busy January 10th and 11th. We are still scheduled to co-sponsor the United Nations Association Human Rights Day event, which is, I think, on Human Rights Day, is that right? So one thing that would be helpful, we actually did this 2 years ago. I don't think we did it last year because we had the luncheon at the same time, is to have somebody, preferably 2 or 3 people available on that day to be at the event and sitting at the table, handing out flyers and answering questions about the Human Rights Commission. Last time it was at Portland, University of Portland at the auditorium. ECC, sorry. At the nice auditorium there, I forget what that's called.
Child Center?
No.
Memorial.
Center?
Memorial.
Yeah, that one.
SEC.
Yeah.
More.
And so there was some space there for a table. Emily and I think, in Al, is it Emily? Oh, just you and I?
Emily was there actually before.
Oh, that's right.
Washington County, I think.
Yeah, and we just had a table set up, we had kind of a display, and some, we handed out those Declaration of Human Rights books and some flyers and things, so if we can make sure that we're stocked up on those blue books, I think we've got a whole box of them.
Would it be better to have a brochure on the,
Yeah.
I think if we could, having both would be really great.
did I just say that or think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get that for us.
I forgot who did those, and then I just remembered. Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so if we could have both of
Great
those,
idea.
thank you, Jeff. And that is, what, does anybody know the actual day? For some reason, it's not.
Tuesday, December 10th is a Tuesday.
Tuesday, December 10th, okay.
Do you know if that's the day that they're having the thing?
I believe that is, I'll confirm that though. And,
At night.
it was, last time it was during, well, it was a Saturday.
Yeah, it was all.
Last time it was a Saturday, so, yes.
Saturday
What?
before.
Oh, you look like you
What
was.
time?
No, I'm still reeling from the brochure.
What time was there? Was at night?
So do we have any volunteers who will staff the, do we know what time?
I'm sorry?
Is it a whole day, is it a few hours?
It's, I attend the first one for us, or second one.
It was the second
It was at
one.
the church.
Yeah, and it
And it
wasn't
was
all
at
day,
night.
then on a Saturday as well, so I'm.
So this is gonna be
wondering if
different.
we Keep the same structure.
I am ill prepared to discuss this apparently, because we need to know when actually the event's gonna be. So I'll confirm that and then I'll send out an email asking if anybody would be available to be there. And I would imagine that, Linda?
I can do that.
Okay, great. Sam?
Yeah.
You can do that? That'd be great.
Sam and Linda?
So I'll just send out an email to everybody anyway, though, just announcing when it is, and then we'll plan on Linda and Sam being there. The more people we can get there, the better, obviously. So we will, and then we can do shifts at the table if we have enough people, things like that. But this is a nice event. It's always been well attended, and it'll be a good opportunity for us to get out there and shake some hands and spread the HRC word. So, okay.
What day?
It's Tuesday, December 10th.
Or was like,
We think.
Potentially.
Yeah.
One question is how to, and forgive me for lack of date. I struggle always with chapter 5, but this is not even 5. But so, Jeff, do we have how to present ourselves very well at the table, and that means a lot of people. So, how do we have a banner that says Human Rights Commission?
You have an updated
Display
banner?
Yeah, we have a nice banner.
We do have one.
Yeah, we used it at the last CPRC neighborhood event. So you'll have brochures, I guess, and people, and it'll look great. It will, it'll be credible.
So brochures for both, human rights and CPRC and.
Yes, we actually have CPRC brochures as well, so.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had this kind of, I don't know if somebody made it, but we had a stand-up display that just said Human Rights Commission. It stood on a table. It was like one of those, didn't we? You looked at me like, no, we didn't. Never mind. Moving on.
You don't have it now.
We don't have it now.
You were thinking about it, that we should
Maybe
have
we were
it.
thinking we should have
Yeah.
it, but the banner's nice, and if we have the flyers and the blue books. that'll be nice. Yeah. And you what?
I wear a suit.
You'll wear a suit, okay.
Hey Jeff, you can add me to the list as well. I was hesitant because it's finals week and I don't schedule it yet, but I'll find out.
You know, it doesn't say that anything about it on our page.
The UNDH thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at the minutes, someone asked earlier what time is the event. It says in the minutes, under committee updates, 5:30 to 7.
Oh, perfect.
I'll bring a tablecloth.
Okay, so does that change anything for anybody on volunteerism?
I can do it. I'll be there.
Okay, and Abdul will be there too, Jeff. Awesome.
I will try to do a stand-up deal, like a tripod fold out. I can't guarantee that I will complete that, but I would try.
Could I coordinate that with you if you do that, just so it
Yeah,
gets
official.
branded?
That's great. And if we do need to produce anything, that's something I think that would be in the budget for communications committee, I would think. So if you need money for anything like that, make sure to talk to Sonia and definitely talk to Jeff, obviously, about that. All right. So, yeah, save the date for that, everybody. We've been in contact with some folks who are organizing an event at the, I always forget, the Rosewood Initiative. Alan, can you tell us a little bit about the Rosewood Initiative and the neighborhood and what the initiative's all about?
So, well, I don't know all that much about it. The Rosewood Initiative is based in East Portland, in the area of 162nd and Stark, an area that, and according to their webpage, they're helping to coordinate some public safety issues in that neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that, frankly, has had a large number of African-American residents who have been displaced from northeast Portland and other parts of the community that have moved into East Portland. And so it's a neighborhood that's been impacted by several factors. And the Rosewood Initiative, my understanding is that they're helping to coordinate community-based public safety issues. It's an area that's very dense. It's got a high number of multifamily residences, and so they're helping to work through some of those kinds of issues out in that area. I grew up in that area. I grew up in Longwood. So, and so the event part of it, though, is what Kyle knows about, I guess, more.
So, yeah, there was a film made, I believe it was actually produced last summer. And it's called Safe and Sound with a question mark, so Safe and Sound. And it's actually a collaboration of 4 local small filmmakers who all did a separate project about police issues in the city of Portland. And it's very on point about, allegations of police brutality, the shootings that have taken place here, and the reaction of these communities to those shootings on the ground. And lots of interviews, actual footage of the shootings in some cases, a lot of audio from the 911 calls, so it's documentary filmmaking. It was a project that was funded in part by the Regional Arts and Culture Council, so it's actually got the kind of this pretty legitimate stamp of approval from the city itself.
This is the event that you and I showed up to, it was being shown
That's right.
at the mall.
Pioneer Place.
Yeah, I don't think either of us were able to stay for the after conversation, but we did make an appearance.
And at that time, I spoke with Joanne Hardesty, among others, including 2 of the filmmakers, about trying to organize an event where the Human Rights Commission can participate in a community dialogue surrounding these issues as an opportunity for us to really get out into this community. And it's a community that I don't think there's any, it's any secret that it's a community that feels like the Human Rights Commission sometimes doesn't pay enough attention and doesn't get involved enough with police issues and police oversight and police accountability issues. And I was contacted by Joanne and one of the filmmakers recently who mentioned that they are doing this at the Rosewood Initiative. And it is Thursday, December 12th. Unfortunately, I actually have a birthing class that night and I cannot go. I know it's crazy, but I really can't go. It is at...
You can probably just get the notes from somebody else for that.
Yeah.
Well, you asked me to coordinate with Joanne, and I have not yet, so I'm glad to hear this update. And I told them I could make it, and definitely welcome other people joining.
What time is it at?
It is at 6 o'clock, I think. Is that right?
But I think the other part of it is that there's potentially an ask by,
Yeah.
especially the Rosewood Initiative, for support in putting on the event. The filmmakers are going to be there, there's going to be a community conversation afterwards. And again, I think you're right, I think the film is kind of a big deal. I think it's also being shown at the Lewis and Clark Symposium, I think, and the filmmakers are also there. So it is a piece of work that does have some weight throughout the city. So it seems like it's a nice opportunity for us potentially to partner in an area that is fairly important. On the 12th. Yeah.
I think I'll be there.
So there are a couple of things that we could help out with as a partner in the event. And one is that we would like to help Rosewood Initiative, or I'm going to propose that we donate some money to Rosewood Initiative, not to necessarily anybody else who's putting on the event, but to Rosewood Initiative itself, to help pay for the space, or help, I guess, defray the cost of the space, and to help them host the event itself. And so what I would ask is for the Human Rights Commission, and we can just discuss this, Human Rights Commission to donate $200 to the Rosewood Initiative. I think you're not only supporting the event itself, you're supporting the initiative and trying to support the work that they're doing by donating that money.
For those of you who don't know about the Rosewood Initiative, they've been really one of the programs that's been really active and committed for a long time. They come to the gang violence task force meetings on a regular basis, and they do a lot of valuable work. So I support what you're saying. But if you don't know about them, you should take the chance to get to know, because it is some really valuable work, and even though they're way out there, they're very committed. One of the programs that's really committed in what they're doing and sincere about it. It's a great program. So,
does anybody have anything that they want to, Alan, do you want to say anything else?
I guess if we are going to contribute money, I think we should be clear about 2 things. One, that our support is going for that event specifically. I don't know if they need to run for the event, but I think it would help. And also that we have somebody in our group that's coordinating with them on how we're presented as supporters. So how are we, what do we essentially get out of the event? Will we be shown on flyers, or kind of spot to speak that night, or something? So we'll need somebody to work with that piece on. I'm assuming Rosewood, I'm not sure that they're exactly the presenters or not. So
I think it would be the organizers that we would want to
yeah,
negotiate.
whoever,
How we're presented.
yeah, exactly.
So I could reach out Kyle, you have their contact information.
I do.
So reach out to them and find out what, essentially, it doesn't sound like necessarily a sponsorship, but perhaps the partnership, what that would entail, and what, like logos and things of that nature that they would need on our part.
Mhm.
If we're going to be obviously promoted on any materials that they're disseminating to the community, so.
Yeah.
They've got a website and all that stuff.
They do have a website, and I'm sure they'll be advertising the event locally, and then we
It's on
could.
Facebook.
It's already there.
Yeah.
So, and I just checked, and they actually didn't have an exact time. It's the evening of the 12th. So I don't know, we'll have to find out a little bit more about when the actual screening is. But I think that's a good point. We want to be partnering in the event itself.
We agreed to have the, be able to post the banner there.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
So it makes sense to me that Soji gets to run the map.
Yes, I'll be there.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
The location again?
It's, I don't know the address. It's called the Rosewood Initiative.
Are you
It's
on
the
the
actual
website?
building. No, I was on an email.
Okay, and their website shows, and I think it's 162nd Star.
Okay.
So if the motion is to donate $200 to the Rosewood Initiative in conjunction or in partnership for this event, is there any sort of condition that you think would be appropriate to apply to that? Because, I mean, if you're saying we want to make sure that it's for this event and that it's used for this specific purpose.
I don't think we can, really. I think it will be incumbent on, I guess it's Bisonji, she's gonna coordinate with them, for them to understand that that's what our intention is. I don't think we can do too much more than that.
Okay. Is there anybody else want to weigh in on the pros or cons of doing this?
The dollar thing, the dollar
Yeah.
piece of it?
No?
Well, I think one of the cons is, my sense of the film is that it's very anti-cop. And so we at least need to be cognizant of the fact that it might be viewed negatively in our partnership with the Police Bureau and CPRC. So I just at least want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a
I don't know.
That's a good point, but are we sponsoring and supporting the organization itself? Or are we supporting an event that's strictly focusing on cops? So
I actually think both.
We have to separate what we are really going to focus on. Because for me, I have to look, is anything against human rights, bylaws, or also for UN human rights articles, as well as this organization in the future are they going to be, for example, I have one organization that was asking an organization of law enforcement to give them money to help with something. And they said in my head, I need to know that building, what's it going to be used for in the future, before I say a recommendation to the law enforcement to give money. What about if that building was used for something against and the police name is in there? So that's the thing. So for me, if it is, we need to look at those areas. If it is giving money for the organization because they work with youth or they work with gangs, issues, things like that, 100% we should go for that. Even they have something that you state on or no with the police, because that's a freedom of speech and they can do that.
But either way, it's attached to the event, right? Because of the timing and everything else. And
Yeah, in the beginning I heard Carl talking about not the money for, not the event, for,
To donate it to the Rosewood Initiative itself.
yes.
And I think that the reason that came up in my mind is that one of the things that was originally being discussed when people were talking about donating money at all was renting the space and being like renters on a lease with the Rosewood Initiative. And I don't really think that we should be getting involved with being lessors of the Rosewood Initiative. I think you can achieve the same goal, defraying the costs of an event like that by donating the money to the Rosewood Initiative itself, and then they can use that to purchase the refreshments or to defray the costs or do what they need to do with that money. And I personally think that you're doing both, supporting the good work of the Rosewood Initiative and also promoting a community dialogue about this important issue. It's not like we're sponsoring the viewpoint of the filmmakers by participating or helping to sponsor the dialogue surrounding that viewpoint. It's an important conversation that I think we should be participating in, and I think a lot of the community doesn't think we're participating in that enough, and I think I personally agree.
And I think we should frankly
So-
state that we're coming at this from the angle of supporting community dialogue and providing a lens for the community to really see both sides, obviously. Rather than saying, hey, we're giving money to fight against the police.
Right.
Or to create some type of community or, just confrontation. We don't want to be on the side of confrontation, but I think we can clearly state that in the communications that we provide and whatever our sponsorship details entail, we can simply say that. We want it to be seen as this, and we want it to be relayed that way in the communications that go out about the event. So that any questions that come up, they can contact us and
I think that's beautiful, and I would suggest, if we have that language up front while we're communicating with the organizers, then everything will be really clear with them too, from the get-go.
I mean, from a community discovery standpoint, I think that fits, it aligns itself directly with what our mission is. It's from community discovery. It's helping people to realize that there are issues that we may not be aware of as a commission. So we can even be specific and tie that to the committee. The Community Discovery Committee, aims to enhance our ability to enlighten our community members about issues that may be overlooked in certain areas or others.
I'm interested in sorry.
That's okay. Let's go with Danita.
So I appreciate this opportunity to take a different perspective in our relationship with community occurrences around policing and police accountability and how it impacts our community, because I think that I hear at our CPRC meetings a desire to address these bigger policing issues that are outside of our mandate as a standing committee of the HRC. But I feel also that we may be headed down a path that requires another area of focus for us as an HRC, that once we open up this forum for those conversations, that there may come an expectation to follow through with some actionable items or more accountability or a process to inform this relationship with public safety with policing component that's already tied to us with the CPRC. And so I support this activity, and I do feel that it will create more action for us. And so just caution us to be open-eyed.
Ashley?
I appreciate what Danita just shared, and sort of in the same, well, we're going off of that a bit, but connected. I'm just interested in hearing a lot in this conversation that the perception is that we're not as involved as we could be. I haven't been very involved with the CPRC or any of that, so I don't know where all of that's stemming from, but I would be interested in learning how we can be more involved. If that's representative of our maintenance of effort, we need to look at that if that's the community perception. So doesn't mean that we have to be divisive or create or support situations where two entities are going up against each other, but we can learn more and lend a hand and sort of help with more opportunities for folks to come together, convenings, et cetera. I'm also interested specifically in public policy, if there's any policy pieces to this. So I'm listening, I appreciate supporting an event and stuff. I just want to get my hands dirty and involved. I don't want to just, not dirty like bad, but you know what I'm saying? Like I like events and stuff. I usually can't go because of in Salem and all that fun stuff, but I'd really like to hear, if this is, have a candid conversation, or I support there being a candid conversation. If this is the perception, how can Human Rights Commission show up in a more substantive way and serve in that role or in that conversation? And do we have the capacity, and how can we kind of farm that out to the standing committees we do already have? and get moving.
Amy and then Sam.
This topic is, a lot of you know, something I've been tracking for a while and come to see and hope that we will have a parallel voice that's very distinct and complementary and supportive of CPRC. And we get to report on our recommendations from the roundtable, which actually give insight to that. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read that, but just as a little highlight to our highlights, that's something that we also heard strongly in the roundtable, kind of mimics it. So I'm glad that it's kind of gelling together.
Sam, you didn't have anything? I'm sorry, I thought I saw you were saying. Abdul? And then
Actually, what Ray was saying, and I'm glad you mentioned something that I was going to say, is we have to understand also, maybe when we're doing this retreat, we'll understand better what is the role of CPRC. CPRC not to solve all the problems of the police or complaints that come forward. Basically, we have like an umbrella, we are here to welcome any issues that deals with law enforcement within our city or abuse of power, etc. Then CPRC, there is some focus with CPRC, and the police, they understand that, the chief and others, they understand that. What we are, I think, as we are talking about outreach or communication, where we lack a lot is presentation being in the communities when there's an issue going on. We're not dependent on data or CPRC member, we're depending on name of Human Rights Commission out there. Either to shake their hands with the families. I remember one time when I went, it was actually a community fire in a house, and the community was there, and they went there to tell the community I'm from Human Rights, sorry about this happening. And things like that, people really value that. I think that's what people are talking about, is hand dirty in a different way with public policy, but in there in the community. As one of us, whenever you have an opportunity to stop somewhere, like when, for example, when I saw police got shot and killed, I wish if I was around there to drive and visit the family, shake their hands, say, sorry about that, I'm from Human Rights Commission, sorry about that. Or when driving, see issues going on, we stop, make that project, that effort to stop or do that. That's what we should be doing. And that's what maybe we should be talking about also in our roles in the Human Rights Commission. I will tell you, I love our Department of Police and Law Enforcement, or Police of Portland. They are great, they have some good leadership, some good leaders, but there are some people who need trainees. They still need help. We still have the problem of shootings or missing spouse, and they know that. So just we have to start separating and identifying what's the role of each group, not put everything on CPRC, it's solved.
Yellow, and then we've got to get moving.
And I think that, yeah, the HRC might not be focused on like the police accountability issues, but there are individuals on the HRC, like Amy and myself, and I'm sure that Emmanuel knows some stuff about police accountability as well. So I think that it will be really easy to get that started. And wasn't there something that was happening about police accountability with like a few members of this group? It caught brought up it was different than CPRC.
Was it around the Department of Justice?
Or IPRG.
Yeah, I thought we were doing something like that.
Well, yeah, there's been some sputters. For example, JTTF. Abdullah, I'm going to look at the JTTF, and I frankly haven't been able to. I've only recently started to clear my plate once I realized that for me to work on those issues, I have to clear my plate. So I've been at fault for not following through the JTTF stuff, but that's one example. And I think finding a supportive structure that everybody agrees with and can stand behind has also been part of what's been holding us back and just making us sputter. Yeah.
But this is a good opportunity to get out there and participate in this kind of dialogue. And so I, for one, am in favor of it, and I would move that we donate $200 to the Rosewood Initiative in connection with the Safe and Sound event.
And in conjunction with Soji's communication about what exactly we're supporting.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor of donating $200 under those conditions, show of hands on that. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
And
All right.
I know, go ahead.
I do want to ask, is there going to be, other than this $200, a focus on the issue? Because trying to do what our friend here was saying, it's really hard when our commission doesn't have a specific stance on it. And so, because like, I mean, I think that like I go into issues where I see police accountability issues and I talk to friends about it, and I can't say that like, oh, I'm from the HRC, I feel this way, because it's not really, might not be how the HRC feels, especially with our relationship with CPRC. So
I think we should,
Well,
I think we should start a parallel track, just like Abdul said, and I think its focus should be public safety. And I think one of those components is police accountability. I agree, I don't think that is the focus of CPRC, it's not its charge, but it certainly is something that's very important that's happening in this city right now, that we, meaning HRC, should be dealing with, but yeah, I don't think it's a CPRC thing. So yeah, I think there should be a parallel track at this level that deals with public safety.
So not necessarily a task force, but what would?
I actually think it would be a task.
Yeah, okay.
You know, this thought occurred to me as I'm listening to the dialogue around this issue, and I think immediately Jet sent back to this time when the HRC was first formulating, and when I joined this work, I had a vision that someday here in the city of Portland, the HRC's name would be associated with some real human rights issues that we have here in Portland. And I think public safety is one of those prominent issues that I would love for the human rights component to be synonymous with that. But where I landed at was, for me as a tribal person, always pushing the acknowledgement of treaty responsibilities and sovereign relationships. And that language is underpinning to everything that we do here as being on ceded land, yet we always have to force the government to recognize that or include language that highlights that. And if there's a way that we can intentionally focus our work and build that up through targeted areas, so that as we continue down the line with the human rights work, that we're not leaving that for our children to do, that we're building that process now so our children automatically get the benefit of the Human Rights Commission being associated with these really important issues around the city. There's a lot of change and there's potential to start changing the way we speak about it. I think it's, I don't know specifically how we do that, but I think that we should start weaving it through.
Well, my proposal would be, and I agree, I think it's something that I know Amy and I have discussed a number of times, trying to focus something, a group other than CPRC on police accountability issues. And I would propose that if those people who are able to dedicate the time, because we're talking about potentially adding another arm of the HRC. I hesitate to do that because I feel like the arms that we already have need to really get moving and really start getting to work. But if there is real serious momentum behind this and people who want to be a part of it, really want to be a part of it and really want to do something, then I would propose that those people get together in the next month and then come back to the commission with a proposal for a task force to do this and really get serious about it. I would really hate to start something else and for that to have the effect of diluting the other work that we are doing. Or if it's important enough to people that's really what they want to focus on rather than something else, then that's fine too. But I really want to encourage whoever wants to drive this to really be dedicated to it, because I really want to be wary of making promises that we aren't going to follow through on. But so I would say that if people really want to do this, I'm all for it, and I think we're all for it. And maybe get together with those people who want to do that, get together over the next month and discuss how we might do it, and maybe come to the commission with a proposal next month. Ashley?
question, but I'm wondering if at the retreat, there would be opportunity for us to talk about some of these focus areas, because I'm not sure, I don't wanna take, what you were saying and stretch it beyond what you intended, but for me, I struggle with the public policy committee, in its formation, and conceptualizing it, shared that it would be in response to the roundtable event and other community needs assessment findings, that we would structure some responsive policy activities around that, and that we would also be proactive and pay attention to legislative stuff and other things. But what I'm coming up against again and again is what are our core areas of focus? Like the Coalition Communities of Color and their reports, finding core needs that exist in our communities, and it would be so wonderful if we had strengthened our understanding, our shared understanding around what we're gonna dedicate our energies towards, and in doing so, that may not necessarily entail creating new task forces. We could deal with those issues within our existing committee structure. Like, I would be happy to address those core focus areas via mine, and I think the Community Discovery Committee could do the same in educating and gathering information there. It's just sort of food for thought, and I would like to have a focus at the retreat on what core areas of focus could be. Doesn't mean we have to limit ourselves or feel trapped, but it would help me, at least in the public policy work, to feel more focused. And I would like to get involved in real serious human rights issues and not feel like we have a scope slip issue or stretch issue, or we're overcommitting to everything. But I think we need to get a little more solid in what we are committing to.
Yeah, and some issues need different depths of research.
Yes.
I think that this topic, it needs the police accountability work. I think it needs a real diving in and a consistency. And others may not need as much. It can be more of a stream, something that's streamed through differently.
So I think we really do need to move on, but I think it's a conversation that needs to continue. And for those people who are interested in taking on that police accountability function, I think I would certainly encourage you to talk offline and come up with ideas for that. But we need to move on. We really need to move on.
Let me just
Amy?
say, contact me. I can collect those emails for those interested in working on that.
Thanks. We added to the agenda, and we are behind, so let's keep that in mind. Public Safety Policy Advisor hire. Amy added that to the agenda, so Amy, would you lead it, please?
I added that at the knowledge that I think you wanted to jump into that maybe initially.
Yeah, so as everyone knows, Deanna Wilson-Mitchell was hired. And Wilson-Mitchell? Deanna Wilson-Mitchell? Deanna.
CPRC member.
She was a CPRC member. Is she still a CPRC member?
Not anymore.
Anymore. So, I'm familiar with her work, and I know of her and seen her work, and she's a wonderful person. But my first thought was that it was bad. I'm just saying the way I feel. I think it was a bad choice. And from the point that she was a police officer, and that she can still return back to her position as a police officer if she, within 3 years, if she doesn't like the position that she's in. I think the first thought that came to my mind was that there are so many other people in this community that aren't police officers, and I don't know if they were ever considered for the position, or if they were ever interviewed for the position. It feels to me that the mayor and the decision, my perspective is it doesn't seem to really have a sense of the community and the needs of the community by this election. And so Amy and I talked about it, and we wanted to bring it here for a discussion. So my key issues are, number one, there's other people that I don't know who was considered, if they were considered, and can think of 5 or 10 people that are police officers that have a long history in this community that could have been as good, if not better, choice. The second thing is that she's a police officer, having worked in law enforcement. there's a lot of wonderful people in law enforcement. I used to be in law enforcement. But at the end of the day, when you come right out of it, you know, you're a police officer. And especially if you have the ability to return back to that position in 3 years. So that's a concern to me. And I think I'm not sure how effective she can be in that position with, you know, that's still an option for her to return back. The third thing is that, again, I don't think it really sends a message to the rest of the community of color, just the community at large, that, you know, our best choice was a police officer. To me, it's a slap in the face to the community that we just still don't get it, you know? And we don't really, you know, solving these issues of racial profiling, police accountability, it's really not a priority for the mayor's office. So that's my short spiel, and we wanted to bring it here and open for discussion.
Just another quick.
Sam, I really appreciate you speaking openly about this. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to what's going on at all. And if you can give me a brief for me to understand, I know little bit of the personality, I know what's going on, but if a little bit to compare, just a brief, if you know, what's the position?
So-
Exactly, what should we do?
Well,
Well, Baruti Arthuri
Yeah.
was the public safety policy advisor to Mayor Hales. He resigned. And so they filled that position with Deanna Weston Mitchell,
Public policy advisor.
public policy advisor, or well, policy advisor to the mayor for public safety,
so it's a go-between, so
focusing on police.
So focusing on police and community and accountability, and Mayor Hales had handpicked Baruti Arthuri when he became the mayor. The person in the position before was Antoinette Edwards, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, Antoinette. And so Antoinette was the first person, and this could be wrong, Antoinette Edwards was the first person, and,
Not under Mayor Hales.
no, under Mayor Adams.
Antoinette,
And
she's the
then
director of public safety, isn't
she was director of public safety and peacekeeping was what it was called.
Okay.
Then when Rob England passed away, she took over his position in gang, and Clay Neal took over that position, I believe. When Sam Adams left, Mayor Hales came in, Mayor Hales selected Baruti Arthuri for that position, which was, you know, was a good selection, in my opinion, at the time, and there's some good work going on as far as the relationship with police and, you know, the community, and Baruti had a lot of history and, you know, that, you know, history and relationships in the community. When he stepped down, then this selection was made. And so to me, in my opinion, it's a step back. So,
Can I say something just about what you just said?
Yes.
It's interesting to me that you said that the mayor had selected Rudy, it was a good selection, so it showed his intent, what his intent was.
yes,
So it's a leap for me to say that that's changed based on the fact that he selected Deanna. I don't think there's any indication that his intent has changed, because we don't know what Deanna's gonna do. Deanna, as far as we know, Deanna has the exact same charge that Rudy did. They're different people, but I don't think it says that the mayor's intent has changed, and I think that's one of the things I heard you say, that we can't trust that the mayor is still intending to do the things that should be done about the police, just because the person is different.
I think because, yeah, I think that I don't know what the mayor's intent is. I think to me, it's a step back to have a police officer in that position. I think we're on a good path. I think to have a police officer in that position, especially in the history of this city and the things that we've been dealing with and we're continuing to deal with, I'm not as confident that we can move forward and accomplish the same things that we could have with Baruti or somebody different in that position.
I think, you know,
Yeah, I don't know if you have the information, but could you elaborate on the peacekeeping aspect of under Hales? Because you said that was what that job description was about, and from my understanding, peacekeeping is nonviolence, making sure nobody gets hurt.
The initial position was public safety and peacekeeping, and now I'm not sure that was under Sam Adams. So what the position now is, I don't think it's called peacekeeping.
Public safety.
Public safety, yeah. So I don't know if peacekeeping is even a piece of that
Because that's like a
anymore.
specific theory term.
Basically, it's policy advisor to the mayor about police, like police bureau.
he's doing the same job that Baruti was doing. right?
Yeah.
Or she's.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So was either Amy or Danita, you guys figured it out?
Just quickly, I agree with that we can't claim intent. But I agree with the 3 points of concern that Sam is listing. And for me, there's also the larger historical issue about the community, much of this community has been looking for community oversight for the Portland Police Bureau. And that's not going in that direction if we're looking at somebody who has potential to be returned to the Police Bureau. And that's it.
So, just for clarification, get that real quick, I mean, is it that, not because of who she is, but because she's a police officer, is that the concern?
That she is a police officer and that she has the opportunity to return within 3 years.
Okay, but it's nothing about her, just,
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
No, I think Sammy had said she
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
person.
yeah, she's done great work.
Danita?
Well, that was kind of very similar to my inquiry, because in working with Deanna on the CPRC work, I know her to be courageous and really understanding issues that communities of color face, and as a woman of color herself. And she's really pushed forward the racial training curriculum. She basically initiated all of that and moved it forward, which my understanding requires her to go against that policing culture and to speak out against many unpopular perspectives from within the police bureau. And I valued that very much, knowing and believing that she would bring that to the position that she's got both in Mayor Hale's office. And sometimes and even in our minutes, it was reflecting that sometimes new perspectives may enhance the work that we're doing. And I believe she certainly has a fresh perspective and really committed to many aspects of bringing equity to our city. It may come from that context of being a police officer, but that just gives insight to the change that needs to occur within our policing system.
I'm getting the realization that this is a microcosm of what we're looking at as a whole, where we're seeing CPRC perhaps having one charge, having police officers on its committee, and therefore being able to look at the longitudinal culture changes and the institutionalized racism. But then we're looking at how do you do accountability outside of that, because we can't ask police officers to speak on accountability. So to me, this parallels this question with Deanna. So maybe more of the issue is, we get it, she can do this work that she's been doing with CPRC, but there's this whole other package of things that we're concerned about.
Like,
I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly, because I think you need to go back and if you don't know, look it up. That the role that Anthony is in and that Deanna's being asked to play isn't an accountability role. The police accountability role officially in the city is IPR, CRC. It's not CPRC, and it's not the mayor's office. The mayor is the chief's boss. So he's, from an employment perspective, has an accountability function. And my understanding of Rudy's role and the role that Deanna stepped into is to change, literally, or change the culture of the police bureau. To me, that's different than hold them accountable. Accountability is one part of that, but change the culture is all pieces of that. The pieces that are happening at CPRC, the pieces that would happen at IPR and CRC. So I think the way I'm envisioning the words accountability are the wrong, it's the wrong role that we should be putting that position into. That's my, from having followed that position when Rudy first came into it, having sat in meetings with Rudy to understand what his role was, it's not that role belongs to IPR and CRC.
Abdul and then Jayala.
Okay, for me, I try to understand what Sam is talking about and trying to translate in my head. And then thinking about what means that of public safety. because this position trying to understand. But let me start with Deanne. Deanne, I don't think so here is a problem with Deanne as a person, because Deanne has a very courageous woman. She brings forward issues with police department that sometimes I saw her call, there was like, oh my God, she's sitting here and she's, her bosses, and she's going that way. I admire her for that. So for me, I don't feel it's her. But what I'm hearing from you, Sam, is the process is an issue. That's part of Human Rights Commission. A fairness of where we were appointed is to start with the city, but to start with the mayor's office on issues like this, appointments and things like that, with fairness and giving equity service to others. So there is, for me, that's part of the process that I'm talking about. The other part I'm trying to understand, when you are talking about public safety, is the position going to be talking, is it under it, I'm trying to observe, is it under it that you working about the safety of our communities when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to parking, when it comes to traffic issues, when it comes to all these things? Or what? Like for me, if you came to me and told me at the college, I would tell you this is what it is, public safety. And you have to have something of experience on reading and studying around crime and issues and on how to handle issues like this in a way that we won't get back in suit for going different way with somebody who's not experienced. But for me, my concern now is not this person will come and say, I will hold the police accountable, because I don't think so that's the job of this person, but the process, how this position came about. Does the mayor really follow how it should be followed? Did he listen, get input from our community? Did we get some input? I have no idea this is existing. Maybe you understand, but I have no clue. So that's my input about this issue.
Bialo, and then we kind of have to move on.
So,
But I'm gonna wrap it up with, if there's a suggestion here.
So I think that we should always have the community as our center when going about these decisions. And is she gonna be answering or in any way, like for instance, was she at the meeting that was last night? Do we know if she's listening to the community by what she does? I mean, I know we need to question the process, but at the same time, if she's doing these major moves and she's at these kind of things, listening to the community like we are and has really similar opinions, I feel like we should just kind of let her do that and not really bother her about it, because really at the end of the day, we're trying to help people. So, I don't know.
Is there a suggestion that you have, Sam, about, I think that Abdul's point, I actually wrote a hiring process here when you first started, and it seems like that was an initial point, and it's certainly something that we can ask the mayor's office about how the hiring process went, what was that process, just for transparency's sake. Is there anything though that you would suggest, or was this more of a discussion issue, just keep it on our radar?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to see where people stand, and if there's if we wanted to take a stance or send a letter or say something to the mayor about this election or the process, and that we have concerns with it. So I wanted to kind of bring it to express how I feel and bring it to the committee, because and again, I think sometimes when we discuss these issues, this is not an indictment on her at all. She's a wonderful person, and I think some of us take it personally because we know that person or we have a relationship with that person. But I'm thinking of the picture as a whole and the community as a whole, and it's troubling to me that there wasn't a process, and that the best selection they felt was a police officer, and not only a police officer, but a police officer that can return back to their position in 3 years if they don't, if it doesn't work out. And having worked in that culture, having been in that culture, it's very difficult to change that culture if you were one of those people. Now, maybe she can do it, and I would support her, hope she can, but with the ability to return to it, I'm not so sure. I have concerns that there's only so much that she will be able to do or will be willing to do. If she is thinking about, someday I have to go back to this job, and to work with these people. So do we want to send a letter to the mayor and express our concern with the process and the selection process of this? I don't know. That's a question for the HRC.
I personally would like to know more about the process before I sent a letter to the mayor complaining about the process. So if we're gonna do something like that or consider something like that, I would certainly suggest that we find out what happened first and then talk about it at the next meeting. Maybe.
And which human rights violation or concern with the candidate.
Would you also like to invite her to a meeting to ask her?
Well, I think,
What her position is?
I think that's a good idea, but if we're talking about the process, I'd like to know what the process was.
Well, I mean, down the road.
But down the road, yeah, I mean, I think that as part of.
If you don't see her.
As part of, you know, as part of that ongoing maybe police accountability piece of the HRC that we're discussing, I know that when Amy and I talked about that previously, we talked about you being a liaison with Baruti
Yes.
at one point, and so that kind of a thing would be potentially, I think, really valuable. Is that what you're about to say?
No, but that's the other piece of that. That's why this, if we do a communication, this needs to be a very delicately presented communication, because in my opinion, our goal is to maintain communication as much as possible. What I was gonna say is, after hearing this discussion, I'm wondering if we can assume that the community also has this basket of similar concerns. We can't agree as a commission to make a statement about the conflict of interest piece because we don't have all the information. What if that communication is more around the fact that more information is needed about what the process was, and specifically about what the role is, and what can we expect from this person in that specific role? That's what I propose for a communication.
Linda?
I'm backtracking to before this started about the action item. And I'd just like to say that last night I attended a new Jim Crow panel at First Unitarian Church. And I don't think that a lot of people that were on that panel would like the idea that this person was returning to the police department. It just doesn't.
We don't know that she's returning to the police department, so I think we need to be careful about the language.
She can.
She has the right.
Even if we had some kind of.
Under her union contract. she
Okay,
has the
let's
right.
let Linda finish.
I think to a lot of people that attended that, it just doesn't smell right. I just wanted to say,
Yeah, let's go.
pardon me for backing.
No,
up
that's
to-
a
Can I
good
suggest some
observation.
action item and moving with this? Because before in the past, we were actually had a strong and powerful role when we asked certain politicians to come and tell us why. I would suggest asking the mayor, either himself or the office, to come, that we have a concern, we need to know, and to come and present what is his position, why the intent of this selection, to know more. Maybe it's the best thing that's happened. Then we express, here and there, with questions, express ourselves, and the letter follows to the whole council. Is that my suggestion? And the letter will, from us, a letter, after we did the whole thing, a letter from us, either supportive, but here's the conditions that will follow with you guys, we will have a report with this, or we are not pleased, and here's why this, A, B, C, D, and send it to the whole council. I think that will be more powerful in my opinion.
So you're suggesting we invite the mayor's office to our next meeting to.
Inviting
to
the mayor,
talk to
the
us
mayor,
about it?
and he can decide, not the office, the mayor. And he can decide, like we did with Sam Adams before, or Amanda Fraser, and they can decide if he didn't send somebody else, that is fine, but speaking on behalf of his.
To come to our next meeting to discuss the hiring process and
There is a
introduce
concern.
us to the process, introduce
There is
us to
a
the
concern
decision.
among us, clearly what it is about.
Well, there's no reason we can't invite it.
That's my suggestion, too.
Okay, we're gonna go Ashley, then Diallo, then we really have to move on, and we're gonna have to go really fast. Ashley?
It's short. I think it's good to ask questions. I like the process that Abdul laid out a lot. But please also make recommendations, so that it's not just this sort of sell yourself short when you just ask questions. So there's a lot of conversation here that relates to some strong recommendations we could have if this person is not unseated because of the process and what have you. Maybe we want to take a stance on what we expect from them.
Yeah.
Maybe on the flip side, I really like what Abdul said as well. Maybe on the flip side, also invite somebody from, like, who was at the event last night and ask them what their take on it is. Ask them, do you see or hear any testimony that would support this, or do you feel like most of the community would be against this? Just asking.
One of the people on the panel is actually here.
Kyle, can I add one last thing?
One last thing, and then.
My intent for this discussion is not to unseat her. That's not my intent.
Yeah.
As a human rights commissioner, I
It's
feel
not gonna happen.
very compelled to speak for members of the community, of how, not only how I feel, but how other people in the community feel, and that has been expressed to me. So, I wanted to bring it here as a discussion for all of us, something for us to consider, so.
So the
Thank
action
you.
items
Thank you for that.
are, you're gonna invite the mayor, I'm gonna invite the mayor to our next meeting to have a discussion about it. And we can ask for an introduction to the process and an introduction to the position and why the decision was made. And I think that can be really helpful to broaching that relationship. Okay, is that okay with everybody? All right,
Before you
wonderful.
do that, would you, I think it'd be helpful if we're all on the same, have the same communication, the same dialogue, so when he comes, he won't get all these questions, but we're all on the same A, B, and C, and maybe send out, or I would, or whoever, send out a quick brief description of, what that looks like, just so we can all be uniform together, as we're presenting and as we're listening, and as he's giving us, as we're giving to him.
So to support that, can I suggest that as you write your invitation to Hales, that Sam has a chance to review that, and anyone else who wants to, before it goes?
I was planning on calling
Okay.
and inviting him on the phone.
Okay.
As far as the one message thing, I would want to make sure that a human rights commissioner wouldn't feel like he or she would be able to bring a question to the mayor just because it didn't go along with the established messages. That,
Like, yeah, yes and no, or, well, I think we all have the same message, but I know sometimes I may have a question that somebody can articulate better than myself, and I may come across way too, like, look, this is what it is, and this is what I want.
That's
So
what we need, though.
I continue to fall back a lot, because I don't want.
Yeah.
I think the mayor or the mayor's staff will be presenting to us, so I think, to the extent we stay on topic, I think the main thing is we should stay on topic.
And I think that's what it is. I think it's, yeah.
But at the same time, feel free to ask whatever questions you have on that topic.
That we have an agreed upon
Yeah.
intent and objective for the meeting, and
And
it's
if
not
that's-
just everything.
I think we can definitely do that, and it's like, I could send out an email saying, okay, everybody, they're coming, and this is what we're gonna talk about, we can't do mission creep.
What we want out of it.
Yeah.
What we expect from him, because he actually, we expect something from him. Just like the community expects something from HRC, so we have to hold them accountable, just like we're gonna hold us accountable on the everyday world in the street, so.
I think that's fair. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do, all right? Okay. So, Alan, I'm gonna turn it over to you to talk about budget and planning through July of 2014.
Okay, I
Or
was
through June
very
2014.
ready. What you have in front of you, I'm gonna apologize for its size right off the bat, but that's what happens, welcome to my accounting world. So what we're using, the one that's horizontal and shaped like this is actually a tracking sheet. It's actually a tracking sheet that's tracking our actual expenses that we spent year to date. The bottom part of it, the second section has what I'm calling committed expenses, expenses that we know are being spent that haven't run actually through the system yet. So the top part is actually stuff that comes out of the accounting system. And the very, very bottom part is our actual budgeted amounts based on these categories that we're getting from the city. And so and then the back of this is actually the detail for the very bottom of this budget. It's the original budget that we passed that has it all allocated out by different groups, by different committees, and the different line items that we said that we were gonna spend. So that's the layout of what you have in front of you. So one of the takeaways from this is if you look at the very bottom right of the actual expense number, We are about, let's see, the budget year starts July 1st, and we're at November 1st, roughly. So we're 4 months into the year, and we've spent about $10,000, $12,000 out of our budget. And that includes some of the big committed items. One of the things that, and the reason that Kyle brought this forward is there's the potential that we can and should reallocate some of the pieces that we originally budgeted for events that may not occur. So one of them, for instance, is we may not have two public forums, right, that's the terminology, public forums for CDC. So those items were budgeted at like $1,500 an event. So that's $1,500 that we know we might need to reallocate somewhere else. And then I think there are, for instance, we allocated some money to the Emily G. Godfrey Human Rights Awards that we're probably not gonna have to spend because Northwest Natural is donating the food and the space.
And centerpieces.
And centerpieces, which
Which would have been
was a
costly.
huge, we have a huge centerpiece budget. So that's what this conversation is about, is are there other projects that we could commit to, knowing that there are some funds available, knowing that that money, that budget year runs out at June 30. So that's the consideration for committee chairs, for task forces, and for other folks to think about.
With the $200 that we're donating to Rosewood, would that be included, that would be included in that, just to have that money free up, so we could say, yeah, we would like to give it to this organization, or
Exactly.
something.
Yeah, so, and, or if we could come up with events, so for instance, one of them that's really glaring to me is, if you look at the actual one, again, we have a whole column on education that has some big numbers in it that we don't really have planned events for yet. To me, you know, one of the events I'd like to do as a housing person, I'm actually very involved with Fair Housing Council of Oregon, is sponsoring bus tours again in the spring. They cost $1,500 a tour. We could partner with Race Talks and do that whole thing again, so that's a potential. But we really want to find out, are there other things that folks might commit to work on that are going to take some funds for us to do over the next 8 months? So it's part of this is there are resources available, we need commitments and folks to do them.
And I think it's also really important that, you know, for future funding, for our future budgets, that we're able to show that we're using our money wisely and that we are using the money that is being given to us by the city to do worthwhile events, and that we actually need the money. There are, so what I think would be really helpful for us, both for the upcoming year and making sure that people know exactly where they stand and exactly what they're expected to pull off. And also for the future, so that when the OEHR starts doing their budgets, which they're starting to, I believe, here this month, they aren't saying, well, the Human Rights Commission doesn't really need that money. So why should we give them all that money? If we, and I believe we do need the money, I believe we can spend it wisely, and I think we have good ideas for doing that, but I think we actually need to execute on those ideas so that when somebody comes to us and says, why do you need $30,000? You've only spent 10. We can say, well, these are the events that we have planned. These are the events that are going to happen in the next year. This budget is appropriate for us.
Not just what the events are, but what you'll accomplish with those events.
And also, just to say, show that we've been using it wisely, we no longer use it to provide space. You know, we always find free space. And if all these other dollars can be placed or tracked, then that it does show we've been paying attention.
Yep.
And trying to be smart about it.
So what's the timeline for this? And
Yeah, and
what
what is the timeline in the process for?
Well, my proposal would be for the chairs of each commission to talk to their, or committee, to talk to their committees about where that money is going to be able to be spent, what the realistic goals and events are for the next year. It's not just events, it's also resources. I think communications is more of a resource-oriented expenditures, whereas CDC is more of an event-oriented expenditure. And then provide, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, Alan and I with a plan for your committee so that we can provide a proposed budget at the next HRC meeting, and also so that we can answer questions that come to us from the OEHR. Because we may have to answer some of those questions, I would think, Alan, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know that as chair of HTTF, I'm certainly gonna throw my hat in the ring and try to increase our budget, because we have some events that I think that we could really use the money for. And so if anybody else wants to compete with me for that money, you better get your money, you better get your proposals in there, because I'm gonna take it.
Outside the
So
committee.
we need to throw.
Yeah. they're throwing our money out there.
Jeff gets his hands on it.
We gotta buy
Outside
sand.
the committee-
People will get more into it.
Outside the committee structure though, Kyle, there are also opportunities for folks that aren't connected to committees. If you have ideas about, at the general HRC level, that fit the pillars of what we're doing around education, visibility, advocacy, and the fourth one, then please do
I love
also
how nobody
email us
says it.
with those ideas about projects, resources, things that we should be doing, and committee resources that we can fit.
Exactly, yeah, there
It's not just
is
committee.
other events, things like that, that could be important.
I will compete with GTTF with you.
All right.
No, but what I would say, actually, one of the weaknesses we have is marketing. So my suggestion, business cards need to be done.
They're done.
They're done.
Where
They
are
are?
Where are they?
Oh, just sorry.
We've had them.
Yeah, we've had them.
Do they
I
have?
think individual business cards.
I'm talking about, we talked about individual,
Yeah,
with
I
a
agree.
name, phone number.
Because we can't even write like our names on these. I mean, I like.
You can't?
I mean, I can.
Okay, so you can write it, okay,
I
next.
can write your name on anything, technically.
So,
Okay.
if I could just interject.
So wait, no, let's let Nicole finish.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
It's two ends.
So business cards, car stickers,
Yes.
polo shirts for the
Yeah.
members of the commission. No, I mean it, this is really
Yes.
something that we need.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, something like that. Can we have, you're looking at me, can we have, I'm not going to go there, but I was going to thinking about a flag that says Human Rights Commission City Portland.
I think there's, all this is up for discussion, and there are different committees that can handle that kind of thing. It's just everyone, if you don't already, please keep in mind that you have the largest budget of any other commission, and it is also taxpayer money, belongs to the people. And so spending it wisely, as Kyle said, I think is, and it's not to say the flag wouldn't be wise, but, let's make sure that it's vetted
Let
and.
me tell you something. In public entities, I do this a lot in other kind of places. I will spend millions in marketing, getting people message, and this money spend it on the when I work somewhere.
You're talking about
Because
marketing and public
what you
relations,
need
guys, so I
is people
understand.
to start coming, the people start learning who we exist, and we owe it to them. Basically, we are sitting here like with the room, we go to some place and they tell you who's the Human Rights Commission. How much powerful, all of you, when you stop in a light or following a car, when you see stickers, don't you all try to understand what that sticker says? How can we do something like that that's attractive? Because this issue, not I'm just looking at Jeff, it's Jeff I'm talking to, but all of you, is how many times literally started talking about this when we were forming the committee, CPRC or others, we talked about a marketing and education committee and we got nowhere.
Well, we have a communications committee now,
No, I'm sorry with my accent. Education. To educate people that we exist and what we do and what we owe them.
and I think that's under the charge of the communications committee as well. So, and I'm not saying that any of those ideas are bad. I'm just saying that as everyone moves forward with this process, let's remember whose money we're working with here, right? So that's just what I wanted to put out there.
Jeff, as a public person, it's taken from my pocket. I would be happy to pay for polls.
As a community member.
I'm not talking about misusing money,
We'll mark all of the
but my responsibility.
revenue.
I know that Sonji was waiting.
No, just to ease Abdul's fears, I did create a budget, and my budget did entail what you just mentioned. So we're on the same wavelength. I can ask for more,
Thank you.
and I will ask for more because of you.
Ashley?
I just want to say that I didn't used to agree with this, but I do now agree that our names need to appear on the business cards because I've been asked every single place I go when I mention it, people give me a card and say, well, can I see yours? And I have shared the ones that don't have the name or the role. And people are like, okay, so how do I contact you on this? And it becomes this whole thing where I'm like, hold on, you know, and I don't always have time to do that. I just want it to be smoother. And I would even be willing to pay for that myself, honestly, because I know business cards aren't that much. I know business owners who print them and stuff, but I just want to help.
Okay, one of those
that
things,
forward.
and I'll just put that out there right now. It'll be about $1,200 to do business cards for every commissioner. So just putting that out there. We, as the city entity, can only go through the city printing
That's why.
office. We cannot print anything outside of that. So
Well, that's why we add the line, you know, just so we can write
Well, yeah,
it
you
fair.
just-
Started PCC for $25.
you cannot legally do that with a city entity. So I could print things cheaply too, but that's not, I'm not allowed to do that, and neither are you.
So, okay,
Thank
we
you.
can, I don't wanna say argue, but we can go back and forth about the specifics of, you know, the marketing materials, things like that, as part of the marketing, the communications committee work. And I think that would be the appropriate venue for that conversation to take place. I think, I absolutely agree that we need to do a better job marketing ourselves, and there are ways to do that we can do in an appropriate and responsible way. I actually think car phone stickers is a really good idea.
Thank you.
I think the person to talk to about that is Sonji. Thank you, Sonji. And, but as far as, and we do need to move on, I've said this before. As far as budgets go, try to get us ideas, and we will make a budget proposal at the next HRC meeting if time allows for our budget guru. Sorry. So yeah, if you don't get your proposals in, it's all going to human trafficking task force. That's all I'm saying. All right. All right. I'm gonna become one so that people will be competitive. All right, sir.
Thank you for doing your work.
Thank you, Alan. Community Discovery Committee, your time starts now.
Can you start it?
Amy's gonna start with the
Woo. Okay,
If we can do this in 10 minutes, that would be great.
we'll do our best. So I have in my hands the recommendation pages from the roundtable report. And this all went to you, it should have gone into your inbox a few days ago. We are not prepared or have time to do a full presentation of this report, so I'm just gonna try to give you the highlights. What we would like to do is have time next month to go more in depth with what we're suggesting. So basically, this report is about 29 pages, which includes appendixes and other supportive things. We spoke about our mission, our role, our strategic plan. We spoke about the discovery strategy, what CDC's purpose is. Then we talked about the event purpose and design and the goals of that event. And then we documented the raw notes that came from the documentation during the event. And from those, we created categories based on what the actual conversations were. And from those categories, we shuffled them into recommendations. And they're primarily here recommendations per committee, but not entirely. So I'm just going to try to give some highlights per committee. So Community Police and Relations Committee, from the participant recommendations, we're forwarding recommendation that HRC continue supporting CPRC's work. Plus that there's an addition to the education work that they're doing, the training work that they're doing, of school to prison pipeline issues as they can. As well as any advocacy work that CPRC is doing that they weave in school to prison pipeline issues. And also for CPRC, we're encouraging that committee to post their initiatives, goals, milestones, and positions on the website. And that actually is a recommendation we follow all the way through for every committee. Very relative to what we were talking about tonight, we heard recommendations for additional law enforcement monitoring and advocacy work that runs outside of the CPRC purview. So that would include looking at the impact through a human rights lens of general law enforcement policies, any resolutions, any ordinances of the city, and any community concerns that are not addressed within the purview of CPRC. And that would include establishing regular dialogue, reporting advocacy with the mayor's office, other bureaus in charge of law enforcement, other law enforcement bodies, to develop a relationship and advocacy role. So there's specific issues which I won't list, but those are included based on what was reported. And also for that committee or task force, we're looking to encourage an education component. So particularly things like law enforcement and human rights in general, but also working in partnership with IPR to improve community accessibility and understanding of the IPR process. And I've already spoken to, I threw this by Irene Conniff before that went in, so they're on board with that if that's something that body wants to move forward on. So this education piece would also include co-hosting workshops on Know Your Rights, as well as legal rights and options post-arrest for people. How am I doing on time?
Good.
Okay, Housing Rights Task Force, we looked at this, and I think Malloy was the only person along with, in terms of the chair who was unable to give me feedback on this, but we looked at 3 categories for that. One is homelessness awareness. We heard a real need for there to be a better comprehensive awareness about what contributes to homelessness, houselessness in general. So a convening of discussions around that to reveal the systemic as well as all the connected issues that contribute to our Portland homelessness issue, as well as how do we find solutions that comprehensively address the causes. We looked at assistance and response for this committee, which is safe outside shelter, clear and compassionate use of public space policies, more community awareness of the homeless in terms of our communications, and combating stereotypes like the most recent communication we put out. Partnering with fair housing organizations for providing workshops to renters regarding rental laws, as well as homeowners' rights around borrowing and those under threat of foreclosure. F-8 voucher distributions, protection for those, supportive housing and funding for programs specifically for people with disabilities. Communications Committee, just got that reviewed by Sonji, thank you. Help increase media interest and coverage in general issues. Created clearinghouse, that came up periodic or more than once during the event. Created clearinghouse of resources for human rights response. And action items on social media, an HRC newsletter, infusing human rights concepts into HRC's policy communications, and then finally using story, kind of a qualitative strategy take on how do we get people to really understand and begin to empathize more about issues. HTTF, a lot of what we heard in the roundtable is mimicked with HTTF's work right now. But we're actually also encouraging increasing media interest and coverage of the issues. Again, infusing human rights concepts and governing documents into those policy communications, and using story, we thought would be particularly helpful for trafficking issues. Using billboards, social media forums as part of public outreach, and look to advocate for funding to support victims and survivors, particularly funding for legal support. And then moving on to the next section, we had a youth table that was very packed. There was some people very interested in there are adding a youth table there. And so issues of accessibility for youth to systems of power came up, and what we're encouraging is that the nominations committee consider recruiting for potential youth members to help provide access for that and give that youth voice. And also that as a whole, the HRC, as we do work, we remember to include youth concerns in everything that we're doing. And then we have some general Human Rights Commission recommendations. Look for opportunities for where we can, we're improving data, the availability, the reliability, the comprehensiveness of data that's available. Where there's a gap in data that could, and if that's supported or improved, could really leverage leverage an improvement. Am I nearly at 10? Okay, sorry. Okay, we're only going to go a couple of minutes over. And then the oppression of polite culture is something that came up, which was fascinating. I mean, not terribly surprising, but that it came up was very wonderful. To weave in the understanding that communication styles, often known by progressives and of the more privileged communities in Portland, can prevent real, frank conversations and are moving towards really what needs to be spoken about. And so we have recommendations about bridging that gap. Some public education on human rights, whatever opportunity we can find to create more education in the communications about what is human rights and how it relates would be great. And then immigrant rights. We're not sure about the voice that was provided at the event. We want to be really careful next time that we have done thorough outreach to immigrant rights support communities. We did have members attend, but I'm a little disturbed that we didn't have such a very good body of recommendations for that population. So paying attention to immigrant rights if they overlap.
Okay, so throw something in there real quick about immigrants. Knowing how each community likes to be communicated to and with is really important there, and I think that's something that Polo could really help out with.
Yeah. Okay, finishing up. Dale had a fantastic suggestion and feedback that this is a very dense academic document, and we would like to make it community accessible. And so this month we're going to work on that, and so we want that to be how we present it to you guys next month. And so it's in more sound bites and able to be digested by committees and everyone as a whole. And I think I'll leave it at that. We entirely always are encouraging feedback for what we're doing, so continue to bring it on. It was a little weird putting this together for me once I realized that we're making recommendations in a kind of a separate way from you all, and I hope that next time we find a way then to co-write these recommendations. I think a lot of that has to do with our scheduling, but I'm happy with what we're coming up with.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And
Linda, did you have something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I have some things to add, but first I'd like to say that I think we should all thank Amy for a really fantastic job on this report. It's very thorough. Carefully written, something we're all be proud to have on the website and on the public. And I wanted to add that we were very careful and respectful to include all the ideas and suggestions and dreams that our community partner brought, even if some were beyond our purview or capacity to realize them. Well, we explained that in the report, and we promised that we would take the larger, overarching ideas. For example, the polite culture idea would be a sample of that kind of thing. Promise to weave those ideas into all of our work. And as we move out more into the public sphere, we need more committee members to do significant outreach and create those strong relationships that we want. And we were pleased that many community groups participated. And in the future, I guess is it time for my CDC report briefly?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We finished the roundtable report, and we are putting out a shorter version that's more visual and easily accessible to others. And we plan to have another roundtable this year, and hopefully a public forum. With a small number of people, any of you are welcome to join to ensure greater capacity. That's it.
How is that report going to be put out?
Well, not sure. You and I need a meeting to talk about the whole report, and then perhaps you can give some recommendations about how that could be.
That's what you said in the email that you sent me, isn't it?
Okay. So the report itself is done, you're just working on putting together sort of a more entry-level version of it, right?
The report is done, short of getting it to Jeff.
Okay, so-
Sort of Jeff and I putting our heads together about format, and then, yes, pulling out a piece of it that's more, in a way that's more accessible.
Okay, so we'll be able, before the next meeting though, to actually publish that report on our website and announce that it's done. If, given the time, given you guys being able to get together.
This was, we
Okay.
promised this in September, so I really think we need to make it a priority as much as we can.
That would be great.
For the record, Amy was very proactive in reaching out to me to put our heads together, and I just forgot about it until now.
Thank you for doing that, that's great, we're really excited to see it, and you have 5 seconds.
Now the time.
And you're done. Moving on.
In terms of our budgeting, Linda mentioned two events, two possible events. We want to do roundtable once a year, so that's definite. We've also realized it was a no-brainer, but the events that we do as CDC really are contingent upon committee interest and membership interest. So for us to finalize, I think, our budget, we need to have a conversation with folks about what is the interest in doing a public forum, right? I'm not sure how that'll happen, but that's needed to be said.
Well, if you need input from my committee, let me know. And I'm sure every other committee member and chair would feel the same way. So if you want to broach that subject so that you're able to make that decision, let us know.
Okay, indeed, well said.
All right. So we are almost out of time. I want to make sure that we get public comment in before the official end of the meeting. So I'm gonna actually modify the agenda unilaterally and ask for any public comment. Is there any public comment? Never mind. So we do have time for some updates from the other committee chairs, if there are updates to be had. Sunji, at the end of the table, do you have anything for us?
Sure, so based on where we are with the budget, I'll be submitting some recommendations, and hopefully all of those will be accepted. Obviously, everyone needs communications to promote what the HRC does. So ultimately, if there are some things that you want to see that specifically align with the communications committee, just let me know, and I'm willing to include that in my budget to carry the brunt if someone doesn't specifically have enough folks to back them. So the newsletter, I think that was one of the roundtable issues that came up, and so I'd like to start working on our first newsletter, perhaps to come out in January, in alignment with all the holidays and Martin Luther King's birthday. There are lots of events going on, and I think based on some of the events that we talked about tonight, it'll be a good opportunity for us to share what we've been involved in and what we are expecting to roll out for the new year. So I will be reaching out to each committee member, asking for content or suggestions for content, and anything that we may have missed, highlighting, making sure that we include the Godfrey Awards and the recipients and a little bit of information about them as well. And then connecting with Jeff will be on my to-do list, sitting down with Jeff and really discussing what we can and cannot do, what I can kind of take off of your plate if there are some things that I can take off of your plates.
Yeah, and we are the committee.
We are the committee.
Yeah, okay. Remember.
And,
I'm on there.
yes, and Linda, are you on the committee? You're on the committee too. Yeah, so there's 4 of us.
Oh, you also on the committee? Linda.
Oh,
She's on the
I
committee
like
too.
that.
Growing as we
Quite a
speak.
dream for a while, wasn't it, Jeff?
Yeah.
Because we have the committee shirts, we gotta wear.
So you need to work. Give your flag. All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Ashley, do you need to update us on policy stuff at all?
Well, I did want to share a couple things, but shortening it here, you know, John left us, and that was a sad loss as a whole, but also a very sad loss for the Public Policy Committee, because he was one of 3 commissioners who constituted or made up that body. So we're interested in getting more dedicated interest. We also have a member of the public, Nicole Beckett, do I have that correct?
I think it's Judd.
Nicole Judd Becken.
Oh, Judd Beckett, pardon me, who's awesome and has a strong background in international human rights advocacy work and is lending her support and efforts and working in partnership with us. She can't attend the Wednesday monthly meetings, and that's why you don't see her here, but a number of us have met with her and spoken with her about different things, and she came to the last meeting. But anyhow, I would just like to drum up more interest, and so think about that, and I'm hoping in the next monthly meeting to have more things for people to chew on and will maybe inspire your interest. We've had a lot of capacity building process-based stuff similar to the larger capacity building initiatives that have gone on at the HRC, going on within the small fledgling committee. But I know I mentioned this earlier, the other thing is just really wanting to pick areas of focus, because there are so many, like we've done small things, like we responded to Bose's request and wrote a letter and what, using our assessment tool and what areas of human rights were at stake or being violated, if, considering that they wouldn't have the dedicated space continued. But I don't want to just be in the business of those kinds of things. I want more targeted effort, and there's been some discussion in the past of what we would do, and there are some great ideas, but I want to bring that to the larger committee and get a larger sense, since we have 2 commissioners who are making those decisions right now. So you'll be hearing more about that. Also, Amy, I'll just connect with you about some of the things you mentioned in the findings and recommendations for the roundtable event. Some of those things might be linked to policy.
Thank you very much. Nominating committee is next on my list. Malloy isn't here. Is anybody on the nominating committee that can tell us about whether there has been a process started for the replacement, newest replacement? No? Okay. So I have a note to myself to get in touch with Malloy about that. We've got to get that done as quickly as we can, so we'll get that done. Human Trafficking Task Force is continuing to work on outreach to at-risk immigrant communities. One strategy that we are looking into currently is a public service announcement campaign. We met with a Univision spokesperson last month, and she has given us a lot of confidence that we could get something going that would be meaningful, that would not break the bank, which is really nice. They've had a lot of success with outreach, and we've actually recruited a new member from the Slavic community who is fantastic, and so Human Trafficking Task Force is definitely moving forward with our outreach efforts. So,
Kyle, can I, could you involve me on, or just a review of the, if you decide to buy any media, because I'm a media buyer, so.
yeah, we're not going to do anything without talking to you. Yeah, one thing we have to do is get some additional funding first. So
okay.
we're going to try to do that both through this process, if there is money available, and then also by working with City Hall, hopefully.
Okay.
So.
I've seen several programs on Univision National about human trafficking, because I watch Spanish TV.
Oh, great.
So, and we do have a lot of good local coverage through Univision.
They get great ratings. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, all
Is
right.
there Slavic, is the person that you work with from the Slavic community, is it Natasha?
No, Natasha is on the committee, sort of. She hasn't been able to come the last couple of months, but no, I can't pronounce her name right now. I have to look it up. But she's fantastic. And so, yeah, Housing Rights Task Force. Anything going on?
No, other than the potential collaboration on a housing forum, homelessness forum, like this housing rights forum, the collaboration with CDC and sisters.
All right. And is that on the horizon, or is just a conceptual?
I think it's still in deciding fact. We haven't had a chance to talk to Malloy about it, assuming he hasn't, the committee hasn't had a chance to really make a final call on it yet. It's in discussion.
Can I ask a question about the housing rights? Do you guys work or have anything to do with the testing that happened a couple of years ago?
Testing,
I'm on the committee.
testing and all everything.
Yeah.
Fair Housing Council report?
Yeah.
We were doing inclusionary zoning, gentrification, and then switched our focus to homelessness. We still a little bit of focus on inclusionary zoning.
Are you talking about the locked out series?
The testing that was done through, was it Fish?
Fair Housing Council.
Well, he was a part of
It's
Fair
like
Housing
a year
Council.
and a half ago.
Yeah, and then they're supposed to be, so that, my understanding is they were working on fixing it and doing some more testing. Do we know where that's at, or do you guys?
Maybe Malloy has some more information on it.
The city awarded the contract to a new contractor. Fair Housing Council is still part of that contract, but I think it's being run by a group out of Washington. So, it's supposed to be going on. There's supposed to be a new contractor be doing testing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of an ongoing project, and it's been, fits and starts, I think, a little bit. Anything else from housing rights? CPRC?
CPRC, we kind of debriefed our community dialogue, or listening session at Rickler in September. And I think reflected on being really transparent about our learning process as a CPRC to being a community. And we will definitely have to engage in some follow-up from that discussion. I think that there already are some rich opportunities that were emerging in Collie neighborhood that can be strengthened because of this opportunity at Rickler, but we have a long ways to go. I still believe in still creating a stronger relationship with the Latino community, but we'll move forward intentionally with that. Right on the heels of that is our meeting this month within the Native community at Calvert Mayor Family Center on the 20th. We spent some time last month talking about the complex dynamics that we may experience in that setting, and try to prepare committee members to have expectations of the difficult conversations and courageous conversations that will have the potential to take place there. We have some replacements to do on the committee. My time as chair has expired, and so we'll be moving, I guess, into December in that conversation, and also replacing some of the police officers who are shifting off from their role on CPRC. And we meet on the 14th to decide the agenda for December. And we need to bring back the conversation of presenting the STOPS data information to the community. And so that's like moving forward. Anything else? Oh, they did the second training pilot series was conducted last month, and I hear wonderful things about how that went. And so the more information that we can bring to you guys, I think is a priority of mine. Even being on the committee, and the exposure that I get to that curriculum amazes me at the depth and breadth of work that's being laid to move that forward, and the impact that it's having on our command staff. And we don't get to hear that story because the training is focused internally on the police department, but I think it's a story we should hear, and figure out ways to expand what we're able to do with the capacity at CPRC beyond the extensive training component, which I'm going to guess, like 35 folks that are on that subcommittee moving at work. So it's a layer of our HRC work that we don't see here, but it's tremendous.
And that's it's actually happening right now. So the pilot test was last month, but the actual training of sergeants started Friday, and I think in turn continues through today.
this Friday.
Yeah, it's you know, there are 132 sergeants or something going through the training this week.
That's great. Well, Danita, thank you so much for your term as chair of CPRC. We appreciate all the work that you did. I mean, it was a lot of dedication and time and hard work, so thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Dale?
That just sparked a thought. So California just banned the box. I don't know if you guys know that. And if, and that I feel is something that we could maybe pay attention to and just keep our ears open about, because we could do the same thing, and I think that it really connects to the people. So just something that we're going to be talking about food stuff, we're going to be talking about these issues, and we should probably look at those barriers for people to get out of prison. So
So you're talking about the check the box for.
Yeah.
So I actually had a question. Maybe you know, Emmanuel, does the city of Portland, are they a ban the box organization or no?
I know PSJ was working on that. I don't know if it's actually last night, some young lady said something about they did it at Target, but I don't know if it's in Oregon.
Target started,
Just universally or.
But the city of Portland is, or
Not that I
City of
know.
Portland's not. I know that,
There's conversations about it.
there are conversations, Dante has been involved, so.
Definitely something to look into.
Yeah, that might be-
I talked to Josh Alpert about it. He actually said he's really, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't wanna speak out of turn, but I mean, it seems like they're in favor of looking into it very seriously, and they wanna lead by example.
yeah, Josh has been very involved in those conversations, so.
So it's a policy piece also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I think that's a
That would be
great
awesome.
place that we can make a push.
And that's something that we can, I'll have Dante bring it up at the next meeting as part of his update.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, anything.
That's awesome.
I guess the other thing I want to ask about is, I don't want to call them out meetings anymore, that's an odd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, having an HRC meeting in the community in the not too distant future, January, we talked about January potentially, but I think there's too much going on in January.
That's a busy month, yeah.
But we could also do it on the 8th, is that a good?
Yeah.
Nothing. So probably do something in February, and I've volunteered to help organize one, and my suggestion is that we do it in East Portland, the same area that we're going out to do the Roadwood Initiative, and that, so in February, we would find a place out there, something like the East Portland Community Center, maybe David Douglas, or even further east, so that's my suggestion, and that the components that I want to bring are around housing and then public safety, and so we would maybe bring the here we had the presentation.
About gentrification?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Danielle, and maybe some more public safety pieces, and then potentially discussion around displacement based on the work that's been done with the Coalition of Global Futures and Equity Atlas 2.0. So those are ideas I have. If others have ideas, yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Can I just jump in real quick? A lesson that we certainly learned with CPRC, and that we did really well at Rigler School, was to suspend a business meeting and make sure that the entire meeting was focused on that community. Which means that if we're going to have this in February, that the January meeting, keeping that in mind, we just need to get all our business done in that meeting. And remember that February, that agenda has to be really focused on the audience that's there.
And also, when we do our retreat in January, the February meeting is not going to be, if it's an out meeting, is not going to be a recap of the retreat and talking about all that we achieved at the retreat. So we just need to think about that. But Alan, if you'll spearhead, getting the location or identifying a location for us, that'll probably go a long way in determining where we're going to be able to do it and when.
And you might also mention that the meeting date in January too needs to be changed because we're not going to be on New Year's Day.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, January 1st,
So New Year's Day, so it would be the 8th, January 8th.
What day is that?
So that's going to be a busy HRC week for everybody. It's a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. So CBC meeting will change.
Not any big ones. Yeah.
It's the second. That's what it's,
No, the second, yeah, we would have. to-
Wait, the 8th?
Because of our.
What are our other things?
I have a,
Okay, so you want to have an HRC meeting on the 8th, and then have the,
social on the 10th and a retreat on the 11th. Jeff? And you and I are, we have a date on the 9th, so we need to, because we need to spend more time together.
that was really weird.
Big week.
It's a big week. Get ready.
I already know the answer to this, so I'm already kicking myself in the butt fries. But the CPRC and all the subcommittees of the HRC, they are on the website, and the dates and the dates that they meet are on the website, right?
Well,
Those
the
that have-
CPRC and the HRC are.
Okay.
There are,
HTTF should be, right?
yeah, for the most part, for the information I've been able to get from folks, yes, the regular meeting schedules are there.
Okay.
But it's a little more pronounced for HRC and CPRC because those are high profile,
Right.
you know, I don't want to demean anyone else.
And ours have changed. with-
Yeah, and something that we missed is that Linda's our new chair of CDC, so you can talk to her about our meetings.
Because I've sat in on a few meetings, and sometimes I'm like, is that today? And I
Yeah.
just go on the website.
We also
and-
have the HRC shared calendar,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're on there,
Okay.
you can get on that.
Is that a Google Doc?
It's a Google calendar.
Then no, it's a
No.
forum, it's a discussion, you can't have that.
Don't do
No,
it.
it's a calendar.
It's a
Yeah, it's a
calendar.
discussion, that's, you guys are convening, looking at a calendar, you're sharing information as a forum.
So when we're setting like meeting dates together for.
If it involves a forum, then yeah, that's not allowed. Unless you invite the public.
And I was, if you're ever interested in coming to the CPRC meeting, this would be a good one to come to, the November meeting at NAA.
Yeah.
And if you've never been to the NAA Family Center, it's also a great opportunity to come out, visit their facility. Good ones.
Anything else for the good of the order, folks?
Events.
Oh, excuse me, you're right, it
4:30.
is 4:30.
4:30. Starts at
My
4:30.
meetings are always at 6 PM, it's automatic.
CDC is,
CPRC.
I'm just saying our time.
Oh.
Yeah, we just got new schedules.
Oh, can you send that to me?
We just, yeah, of course. Well, you want-
No, I just need to update your thing.
Yeah, we're gonna meet on the 2nd and 4th.
Can you send that to me, in email?
Yeah, I want them to know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month, so it'll be basically not during the same time as the HRC meeting.
Second floor is every month at what time?
5:30.
30.
You choose which one to get to.
And where do you meet?
You just like.
We meet
Skype.
Skype.
Oh,
So.
I know how to get there.
Yeah, that actually is quicker.
We can have it in person sometimes. I mean, you have 2
Right.
meetings a month.
Folks,
so I'm kinda-
Linda has an announcement to make.
We can
work it out.
Okay, Red Lodge has an art event tomorrow evening from 6 to 9 in conjunction with Thursday Art Walk. And it's going to be at the Eco Trust building. And they're going to talk about their programs. They have art for sale. They're going to have music and talks about their work helping Native American women transition from prison to regular life. And I'm going to attend, and maybe someone has an opening tomorrow evening to attend also. And then Sunday evening, my friend Art Wright is showing his film, and his friend is introducing her book here in Portland, Oregon. I think you got the email.
Yeah.
Okay, for Sunday evening, so.
That looks like a cool event. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful night and see you next month.